Night had already fallen. For 2 solid hours, the only sound was the relentless ticking of the big clock on the wall. Hey everyone, today I'm going to tell you about an experience that still makes my skin crawl just thinking about it. They trapped me again, stuck in this empty classroom. Honestly, it almost felt like my own fault. Same old trick, wait until I went to the bathroom after our last period, toss my stuff into an empty classroom, and slam, lock the door as soon as I stepped in to grab it. It was their perfect way to farm laughs, and Seth and his friends were masters at it, the whole class walking by, erupting in the loudest laughter you can imagine. Usually, a teacher would notice pretty fast, let me out, and give the kids a mild scolding. But this time, darkness fell, and it was terrifyingly quiet, nothing but that damn clock. I'd shouted and called out until my voice was hoarse, but only the empty hallway answered. In despair, I just crouched in the corner, trying not to cry, determined not to give them that satisfaction. Crouched there, I kept wondering when the night janitor would finally spot me. That's when I saw it, a shape moving in the dark, low to the ground, beneath the chairs. At first, it was just a blur. Then it grew clearer. Long limbs and a thin frame. Blue skin and huge black eyes. I didn't panic or flinch because I knew that silhouette. "Terry?" I asked tentatively. He walked funny, like he always did. Like his knees were put together wrong. Wobbly, tilted, arms swinging a bit too far like he was trying to act human but couldn't quite pull it off. He crouched beside me, watching me the same way he did when I was 8 and scraped my leg on the pavement. Back then, Mom called him my imaginary friend. "He's just in your head," she'd say, smiling like it was sweet. But she never looked too closely at the drawings I made of him. To me, though, he always felt real. He even cast a shadow. Terry leaned in, his mouth just inches from my ear. Then, in a low, raspy voice, broken by erratic laughter, he whispered, "Let me kill them." That voice, chilling to the bone, still echoes in my mind. Good thing Ms. Mayworth hadn't left the school yet. She passed by and unlocked the door a few minutes later, and got really angry when she saw me sitting there alone in the dark. She asked me who did it, but I didn't give her any names. Just looked down and followed her out in silence. I walked back to my house with my head down, hoping no one would see me. But of course, they were there. Seth and his pack. Waiting near my street like wolves that couldn't let the kill go. As soon as they saw me, they lost it. Bursting out laughing, stumbling over each other like it was the funniest thing they'd ever seen. "Jesus, look at his face," one of them shouted. I bet he cried so much. I didn't say a word. Just kept walking past them and into my house. Mom was too lost in whatever pill she was on to notice me, so I went straight to bed. But it took me a while to fall asleep. I kept thinking about Terry's face. His words. The next morning, I tried to keep my distance from Seth and the others. Skipped lunch altogether. Instead, I found a quiet spot out in the gardens at school, under one of the big trees, and started reading. I didn't think anyone would bother me, but then I saw Ms. Mayworth. She walked straight over, holding an apple. "You shouldn't skip meals," she said, crouching a little so we were eye level. I just nodded, took the apple, and mumbled a quiet thanks. "You okay?" she asked. "I'm fine," I lied. She kept at it, gently trying to get me to talk about what happened. But I didn't. Then she glanced at the book on my lap. The Flowers of Evil by Baudelaire. "Pretty advanced for your age," she said. I looked away. "I like poetry," I admitted, almost embarrassed to say it out loud. With a smile, she told, "Same here. See you in class," and headed off toward the school. Not long after, I heard Terry's voice coming out of the branches above me. I looked up, and there he was. Arms looped over like a monkey, his long blue fingers gripping the wood. He was laughing. Loud, erratic. Then the whisper came back, now sharper. Over and over. "Let me kill them. Let me kill them. Let me kill them." It crawled under my skin, made my hands shake. I couldn't take it, so I got up and left. As I walked off, I heard him shout behind me, his voice almost desperate, "You have to let me kill them." It was late afternoon. Last period. Ms. Mayworth's English class. I asked to go to the bathroom. She nodded, barely looking up from the book she was lecturing us from. But when I got back, everything felt off. You know that feeling? When the air is thick with something unspoken, and everyone's eyes are just a little bit weird. The class was still going. She was reading aloud, but there were muffled laughs across the room. Smiles being bitten down and heads turning slightly toward me, then away. I stopped near the door for a second before walking quietly back to my seat. Something felt wrong, a knot of dread tightening in my stomach. So I checked my desk, then my backpack. That's when I noticed my notebook was gone. The one I kept very well hidden. My hand started shaking as I rifled through every pocket, every book, but it was gone. Then a kid next to me leaned in with a smirk and slid a paper toward my hand. I looked down. It was one of my poems, ripped straight from my notebook. My heart sank. I looked around. Slowly, horribly, I saw more. Plenty of pages passed around like trading cards. Some read them aloud in hushed, mocking voices, while Ms. Mayworth called for attention, trying to understand what was going on. A few tried to stifle laughter, and some didn't even try. I looked across the room and saw him. Seth. He was sitting there like a king, holding my notebook, now half empty, like it was a trophy. Looking right at me with that smug, dead-eyed smile. Something broke in me at that moment, and I stood up so fast I knocked my chair over. The bang echoed in the sudden silence. Ms. Mayworth paused her reading. I didn't even hear what I shouted, because my vision blurred red. My throat was raw. It felt like something else had taken control of my mouth, something deeper than rage, roaring out. The class burst into more laughter. Not at the poems anymore. At me. Seth leaned back in his chair, relaxed. Enjoying the sight of my tears. Ms. Mayworth quickly walked over, placing a hand on my shoulder. Outside, she said, gently but firmly. Let's go. And I followed, eyes down, face burning. She closed the door behind us. We stood in the hallway as I kept staring at the floor, ashamed. Are you okay? She asked. I didn't respond, and we kept silent for a few seconds. Then I heard it. Terry's voice. Can I kill them now? His voice was right there, facing me. I looked up and froze. Ms. Mayworth stood there. But her eyes became huge, black, endless. Her fingers had stretched, long and blue. And she smiled like Terry. She asked me again, softly, can I? My throat tightened. I wanted to say no, I knew it wasn't right. I knew they didn't deserve it. But all I did was nod a shy yes. Her smile widened. Without saying a word, she turned around, opened the door, walked calmly back into the classroom, and shut the door again. I heard a lock. I stayed in the hall. Seconds later, I heard the gasps. Then screams. Desk scraping. Chaos. A splash of red painted the tiny window in the door. The crying was so loud I can still hear it now. Almost as loud as Terry's laugh. And I didn't move an inch. I just stood there, numb. So, everyone, have you ever had an experience where you felt pushed to the absolute edge, and then a choice was made that couldn't be undone? Let me know in the comments.